بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وعلى من تبعهم بإحسان ودعا بدعوتهم إلى يوم الدين أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Alhamdulillah, today continuing with Surah Baqarah, we spoke yesterday about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displayed His greatness and how Allah displayed that the doer of everything is only Allah. And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was then brought up in the home of Fir'aun, the great enemy, the zalim, the tyrant ruler. Continuing today, and many verses of Quran explain to us the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran is a da'wat and an invitation towards the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the mediums and ways if a person wants to understand Allah, wants to understand the might and the power of Allah and who Allah is, a person can look in Quran. One of the ways is look at through the medium and the qisas and the stories of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, one would find and see the greatness, power and the qudrat and might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because every Nabi had a unique story. Every Nabi who came to a nation, there was some unique incident that happened that displays the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shows the might, the power, and the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the object of every Nabi coming into this world was Ya ayyuhan nas qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. That, O mankind, say La ilaha illallah and you will be successful. That bring belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The object of our living is وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ أَيْ لِيَعْرِفُونَ. The object of this human being, why Allah had created this human being, is that Allah says, I have not created man and jinn except for my worship, meaning أَيْ لِيَعْرِفُونَ, except that they will recognize who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the mediums and ways of recognizing Allah is looking at the qisas and the stories of Anbiya in Quran, how Allah displayed and how Allah sent upon them such help and assistance, and Allah displayed through them His miracles. The miracles of Anbiya, came by the greatness of Allah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, showing, His qudrat and power, by the miracles of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, for us to understand, the greatness and the qudrat and power of Allah. So Quran is an invitation. Quran is inviting you to understand who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you look at the creations of the skies and the earth, when you look at the assistance that Allah brought upon Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, on occasions and times when there was no way out, when the road ahead, they were coming across situations where they had no other way out, and then they turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah sent His help upon them. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, on the occasion after we mentioned the tyrant ruler Fir'aun, and as life went along, Fir'aun continued to oppress the people. He continued to, bring his tyranny over the people and be zalim over the people. Then the time came where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the command. And remember, this nation was that he was being oppressive over was the Bani Israel. The Bani Israel. So he continued to do this to them. Then the time came where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, to take the Bani Israel away and leave Egypt. Leave Egypt and leave the place where they are being oppressed. And remember this oppression and how people carry on, whether it is in today's life, the different governments of the world, the different, the superpowers of the world, whatever they are doing, there is a day that is going to come where it is going to end. This cannot last forever. Tyranny, dhulm, being a zalim and being an oppressor cannot last forever, because firstly, that person who is oppressing, he only has a life till the decree that Allah is going to take away his life. He is only living in this world for that period of time. So his oppressiveness, his oppression, his tyranny only lasts to a certain period of time. So Fir'aun's time was drawing closer, where despite all what he was given, his time was drawing closer, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was then going to destroy him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings it here, and in many verses of Quran, again like we said, the qissa and incident of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, but we make reference to the other verses of Quran under this verse to understand the incident. So the time was coming close where Allah had His plan. Remember we mentioned yesterday, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. That the plan, the plot of a human being or the plot of people, the plot of whoever it is, they have their plot, and Allah plans, and the best of planners is Allah. So every plan is going to come to an end of a human being, because the outcome and what Allah wants at the end of the day will happen. So Fir'aun continued with his being an oppressor. The time was coming where Allah then instructed Musa alayhi salatu wasalam that take the Bani Israel away. And Allah had His plan in what Allah wants to do with Fir'aun. So Allah makes mention in this verse of Quran, verse number 50, Surah Baqarah, وَإِذْ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. And when we opened up the sea, when we parted the sea for you, فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ. There again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ, reminding the Banu Israel of the bounties that we have placed upon you. فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ, we saved you. وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ, and thereafter we drowned the people of Fir'aun. وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ, whilst you were watching, whilst you were looking on. So what happened here? Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was commanded to take his army out, or take the Banu Israel out. Fir'aun got news of this, and he could not handle the fact that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam took the Banu Israel away. So what he done is, he decided then to send an army behind them in hot pursuit. Then Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is out with the army. Now let me take you to another verse of Quran, Surah 26, Surah Shu'ara. That chapter of Quran, in the 19th juz of Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the incident of what the Banu Israel, when they were facing the sea. So in front of them was the Red Sea, behind them was the army of Fir'aun. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the situation that the Banu Israel found him, and what did they say to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. So obviously there were two obstacles in the way of Banu Israel when they left with Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. One is they came to the sea and they did not know what to do and how to go across. And the second was Fir'aun's army was behind them in hot pursuit to come and attack them, kill them for disobeying the commands of Fir'aun, for disobeying the orders of Fir'aun. And this is what happens. You know, when a government, when a ruler, a king is disobeyed, then he takes the law into his own hands and he decides to, bring up punishment on people, and he does not worry how he does it, when he does it, and who in the interim gets hurt in that interim, and who gets killed in that time. This is because of their pride and arrogance. So Fir'aun had that pride and arrogance, and he could not take the fact that the Banu Israel left. So what he done, he sent his army behind them. So Quran describes this in Surah Shu'ara, what the Banu Israel at that time was saying to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Remember, they understood that he was the Nabi of Allah. Allah then in the next verse, we will see in 1-2 verses later, that they wanted a Sharia, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously sent Musa alayhi salam with the Torah for them. So they also received the revelation of a book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, was the Torah. But again, obviously, and human being is like this. If we do not have our dependence on Allah and understand who is Allah, then we will not understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take us out of any situation. So فَلَمَّا تَرَاءَ الْجَمَعَانِ قَالَ أَصْحَابُ مُوسَى إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ قَالَ كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعِيَ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينَ. So when the Banu Israel saw the situation, the sea in front, the army of Fir'aun in the back, there's nowhere to move, there's nowhere to go. Then, when they looked at this and they saw, the two groups, they saw each other. the people of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam then said, Inna lamudrakun. We are finished now. We are going to drown. We are finished now. There's nothing that can happen to us now. We are completely finished. But look at the words of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And see the words of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam for us to understand that out of every difficult situation, out of every hardship, out of every situation, it is Allah that can take us out of every situation. That is why Quran, the living miracle till today, is for us to read, is for us to try and read. That is why sometimes we take the English version of Quran. Yes, we must not interpret the Quran if we do not have the knowledge. Take the English version. Read the stories of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam to understand that Allah is the one who puts a situation and Allah is the one who can remove that situation from a person. So what is Quran saying? Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, his reply to them was Kalla. Qala kalla inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. Do not be afraid, my Rabb, our Rabb Allah is with us. He will guide us to the path. And this brings us back to the incident in the time of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. Just for us to understand that Allah is the doer of everything. An enemy cannot attack you to that extent that Allah wants, that will happen. Like we said yesterday, benefit and harm only in the hands of Allah. Human being will be benefited when Allah wants. Human being will be harmed when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. On the occasion of Hijrah, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anh had the honor of being with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the only person with Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam on the Hijrah migrating from Mecca to Medina. They come to the cave of Thor where they were in, and the enemy came right to the mouth of the cave. Right to the mouth of the cave. At that time, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh thought, oh, now they are going to catch us. Now they are going to see us. They are going to spot us. What did Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam tell him? La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana. Do not grieve because Allah is with us. Similar incidents in a situation where we think there's no way out. That is why we have to apply this in our lives today. Allah has granted us Iman. Allah has made us Muslims. We should not become despondent. We should not lose hope. We should not despair. Allah is there all the time for us. La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana. The ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has been left with a legacy of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. So there is no fear for us. We have the best book, the best Nabi. Allah loves this ummah the most. In any situation, do not become despondent, do not despair. When Allah sends His mercy, yes, and His help is according to the time He wants to send, not when we want it. We just have to keep on making dua. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said to them that, you know what, Kalla inna rabbi ma'ya sayahdeen. Allah will guide us. And what happened? At that time, فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنِ اضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرَ. We're still continuing on Surah Shu'ara, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, now strike with your asa, your staff, your stick, strike the ocean. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused it to become, pathways for them. And it is said they walked through the sea, and Allah made it pathways the size of mountains, and the water did not even touch them. That is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them. And this shows the qudrat and might and power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what Allah done with Fir'aun, He drowned Fir'aun and his army, and He brought them to destruction. So no matter who it is, at the end of the day, when Allah makes the decision that enough is enough, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy any power, any superpower, any kingdom, any people who are, oppressing others. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pulls the rope on that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring them to destruction. The next verse, 51, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about, in very brief, again we're going to give it. وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 40 لَيْلَةً ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's people wanted a Sharia, they wanted a book, they wanted commandments. Allah then called Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, to Mount Sinai, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He then stayed there for 40 days, Mount Tur. He stayed there for 40 days and he fasted, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then gave him the Torah, and obviously Allah gave him the Torah, and he became the Nabi of the Bani Israel. And at this time what happened is, there was a person by the name of Samiri. This is obviously Israeli riwayats came down, to Sahaba and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam via the Israeli reports. This was called Israeli riwayats. So how much of truth in this is it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But there was a person by the name of Samiri. They spoke about taking a calf here. Right? Quran makes mention of taking the calf, but there is one narration, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh mentions from the Israeli riwayats, that this person Samiri, he took the dust of the hooves of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, and he formed it, he made a statue of a cow, and he threw the dust in there, and it became a living cow. Other mufassirin and commentators of Quran say, no, it was just formed, and it was not a living object, and it made a sound. So when Musa alayhi salatu wasalam went obviously to Mount Tur, this is what the Bani Israel then decided to catch on through this person. He misled them, and they went to follow him because they wanted to see and witness the being that they worshipping. One is the being is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who amantu billah, we believe in Allah, we believe in the unseen, we have not seen Allah, we believe in Allah, but they wanted to see and believe. They wanted to see and believe, so they took the cow. So when we appointed 40 nights, for Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, then you took to yourselves the calf. Thereafter, you were unjust. Obviously, they began worshipping a deity besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like this. So Allah is showing in Quran, the Bani Israel were given one bounty over the other, and as they were given bounties, this shows how they're supposed to be being appreciating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they were not appreciating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They kept on, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a bounty, they kept on, finding another thing to worship, finding another thing to do. Everything that they were given, they were questioning. That is why Allah brings their incident extensively in Quran as a lesson for us. Remember, one bounty alone Allah has given you, that you have to be thankful to Allah for the rest of your lives. That is why we say with the gift of Iman, one cannot understand how great this gift is, but such a great gift, that if we use the analogy and say a person is given a life from the time of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam till Qiyamah, and all he does, he stays in sajda for the entire period for thousands and hundreds of years. He makes and is grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. He will not be able to be completely show his gratitude for that one gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. But think about it, Allah is granting us, showering us with gifts all the time. Let us not look at the gifts that we are not getting. Let us not look at the situations and difficulties we are finding in this world. Let us look at that one ni'mat and bounty that Allah is giving us. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. Let us be thankful to Allah for the bounties. Let us not make the same mistakes that the Bani Israel made. Let us not make the same mistakes that they made when every bounty was coming to them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They continued to do what? They continued to show that they are going to do something better. They continued to show that they are, need something more. We must be an ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best ummah. Whatever Allah has given us, whether it is wealth, whether it is health, whether it is anything in life, we be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that Allah will increase us in that greatness. That is lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, let us understand who is Allah. That the being that can remove any situation from us, like how we see in Quran, Allah saved the Bani Israel from Fir'aun. Allah can save us from any difficulty and hardship which is hot in the tongues today is the coronavirus, and the pandemic that is facing in the earth. Let us know and understand that if we're going to continuously turn to Allah and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is going to remove this from the ummah, and Allah is going to remove all hardships and difficulties from the ummah if we turn to Allah. But it is at the time that Allah desires and wants, not at our time. So may Allah give us the understanding, and we make dua again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to remove these difficulties and hardships from the ummah at large. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, guide us and give us the understanding of Quran. Wallah, the beauty of Quran, we have to keep on trying and learning and learning and learning. Read the Quran and, read sometimes the English translation of Quran, not to become a mufassir or to start, to start giving your own opinion of Quran, but just to have an understanding of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, speaks about in Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallahumma, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.